The biggest lie you've been told about understanding female psychology is that you need to be constantly visible to be remembered. You text her good morning the second you wake up. You double text her when her response delays by a couple of hours. You honestly believe that by occupying her digital space, you are building an unbreakable connection. But the cold, hard truth is that you are doing the exact opposite. The more hyper-available you choose to become, the faster you mutate from an exciting option into a predictable, boring routine. Attraction does not survive on constant validation. It breathes in the psychological space you leave behind. Why is it that some men can disappear for days and cause an absolute obsession, while you are terrified that if you remain silent for 24 hours, she will forget you exist? Let's be entirely honest with each other. This video isn't about cheap manipulation tactics or playing childish mind games. We are going to dissect the raw mechanics of subconscious attraction triggers, the biological and cognitive frameworks that shift you from an optional distraction into an essential presence in her mind. If you understand how a woman's psychology processes scarcity, value, and emotional investment, the dynamic changes permanently. But a word of warning before we begin. If you skip the 7th trigger at the very end of this video, every single technique we discuss before it will fail, making you look like an insecure child throwing a tantrum. Pay close attention to how these pieces fit together. Why does a text message left on read consume your thoughts for hours, while a long paragraph of praise gets instantly archived and forgotten? This brings us to our first core psychological mechanism, the scarcity shift and the concept of the unfinished open loop. In cognitive psychology, there is a verified phenomenon known as the Zeigarnik effect. It proves that the human brain experiences an intense state of cognitive tension when a task, a story, or a relationship dynamic is left incomplete. When you are hyper-available, when you pour out your entire life story, your daily schedule, and your unfiltered emotions in the first week of knowing someone, you close every single loop. There is nothing left for her brain to solve, no mystery to unravel, no questions to ask when she lays her head on her pillow at night. To spark true desire, you must learn how to master the scarcity shift by consciously creating open loops. Look at the men who are genuinely unforgettable. They don't drain the value of an interaction by dragging it out until it dies a slow, natural death. Instead, they apply a practical, real-world technique. They cut the conversation short precisely when the emotional momentum is at its peak. If you are having a highly engaging, witty back-and-forth exchange over text, do not wait until the conversation fizzles out into dry, single-word replies. You intentionally end it right there. Tell her, "I've got to run. Something fascinating just came up. Let's catch up later." By stepping away at the absolute height of positive emotion, you leave her mind craving the resolution of that interaction. Her brain is forced to keep processing your image long after your presence has vanished. But what happens when she drops an undeniable attention trap on social media specifically designed to test your focus? Do you double tap and leave a complimentary comment immediately? Watch your step, because this is where most men willingly walk into a psychological cage. This brings us directly to the second trigger, the STOIC barrier versus the validation-seeking trap. There is a massive, dangerous flaw in the advice peddled by modern dating coaches. They tell you to just play hard to get, or completely ignore a woman out of spite. Let me tell you something, man to man. Women possess an incredibly sharp intuition for emotional energy. If you are deliberately ignoring her messages or avoiding her social media posts while sitting on your couch, sweating, checking your screen every 2 minutes, and filled with cringing anxiety, she will smell that artificiality instantly. She knows you aren't actually busy. She knows you are just using silence as a passive-aggressive weapon to force a reaction. You look incredibly weak when you do this. True psychological authority requires you to build a genuine stoic barrier. When you do not respond immediately, it shouldn't be because you are playing a calculated game. It must be because your mind is occupied by something of profound consequence. You are not ignoring her because you are angry or resentful. You are simply unresponsive because you are deeply engaged in your own reality. Look at how most men react when a beautiful woman posts a provocative photo or a vague, emotionally charged status update on her story. They swarm like starving insects, offering instantaneous validation. When you maintain absolute composure and choose not to react to those attention traps, you break the expected pattern. While every other man is aggressively competing for her attention, your total emotional neutrality stands out like a monolith. She begins to realize that her baseline existence is not enough to destabilize your focus, and that realization triggers a profound sense of curiosity. She will naturally begin to crave the attention of the one man who refuses to give it away for free. Building a solid psychological framework like this requires you to understand exactly how the female mind operates under pressure. If you want to completely master these hidden subconscious dynamics, without wasting years of your life suffering through painful trial and error, hit the subscribe button right now. The Beyond Attraction Psychology channel delivers raw, no-nonsense behavioral breakdowns every single week, engineered specifically for men who refuse to settle for average relationship dynamics. Once you have established this absolute boundary, her entire perception of you shifts, forcing her to ask herself a critical question. Where does this man derive such a radical level of self-assurance? The answer lies within an architecture most men completely neglect. Our third psychological pillar is the integration of the mission framework and the detached mind. The biggest mistake competitive videos make is telling you to split your life into 20 different small tasks. Get a hobby, hang out with friends, go to the gym, buy new clothes. It is fragmented, weak advice that dilutes your energy. We are going to consolidate all of this into a single, unshakable system. Your mission. A woman will never genuinely crave your presence if she realizes she is the apex crown jewel of your universe. She desires to step into a man's world that is already full of momentum, pressure, ambition, and purpose. A world where she is a welcome addition, but never the primary reward. You must aggressively implement the 80-20 rule of psychological real estate. 80% of your core mental energy, your internal dialogue, and your daily execution must be dead focused on your career, your financial sovereignty, your physical mastery, and your tribal brotherhood. The remaining 20% is all that is left for romantic pursuits. When you are operating inside this framework, a beautiful psychological phenomenon occurs naturally. You develop a detached mind. You no longer have the physical time or the emotional bandwidth to overanalyze her text response speeds. You aren't staring at your phone wondering why she hasn't called, because your mind is completely locked into solving real-world problems. This authentic detachment acts as an irresistible gravity well. Humans are naturally designed to pursue things that move away from them, and when she feels your energy pulling toward your mission rather than suffocating her reality, she will instinctively move closer to fill the void. And when she finally realizes that your emotional well-being does not depend on her validation, the entire power dynamic of the relationship flips. Are you truly prepared for the ultimate reversal of roles? This brings us to our fourth and final core pillar, the reversal strategy and the activation of emotional investment. In behavioral economics, there is a well-documented cognitive bias known as the sunk cost fallacy. It states that human beings do not value things based on what those things provide. They value them in direct proportion to the amount of time, effort, pain, and resources they have personally invested into them. Most men play the role of the infinite provider of attention. They initiate every call. They orchestrate every date. They carry the entire weight of the conversation. By doing this, you are completely robbing her of the opportunity to invest in you. You are treating yourself like a cheap product on clearance that requires zero effort to acquire. To fix this, you must deploy the step-back method. If you have been executing at 100% capacity, pull back your outward initiation to 40%. This creates a massive 60% vacuum of silence and space. Step back and give her the room to feel your absence. Let her experience the quietness of a day where you didn't check in first. This forces her cognitive machinery to kick into overdrive. She will start wondering what you are doing, who you are with, and why the steady stream of validation has suddenly stopped. To find the answers to those questions, she has to take action. She has to compose the text message. She has to suggest the evening plan. She has to make the call. The very moment she takes that step and invests her own energy into reaching out to you, her subconscious mind rationalizes the behavior by concluding, "I am working for this man's attention. Therefore, he must be incredibly valuable to me." You have successfully reversed the chase. Desire is never something you can force through desperate pleading, constant pursuit, or cheap psychological parlor tricks. True, lasting attraction is the natural, inevitable byproduct of becoming a man who completely commands his own time, respects his boundaries, and ruthlessly prioritizes his life's purpose. When you stop begging for a woman's attention and start building a reality that is genuinely worth remembering, you will never have to force anyone to miss you. They will do it naturally because your presence genuinely adds undeniable value to their world. However, all 7 of the psychological triggers we have broken down today will immediately become utterly useless if you commit one catastrophic error, a fundamental mistake that causes a woman to strip away every ounce of respect she has for you in a single second. Once respect is destroyed, attraction and desire vanish forever, and no amount of space or silence will ever bring them back. To ensure that you aren't unknowingly sabotaging your own masculine authority right now, click on the video appearing on your screen immediately. I am going to expose the one brutal reason she stops respecting you and give you the exact framework to fix it before it's too late. Click it now, and I'll see you inside.